I recently had a chance to go hands on with one of the stars of CES 2025, BMW's new iDrive X with its interesting panoramic display. Having led in car digital experience for other brands, I wanted to get a closer look at this radical concept to both experience it firsthand and to see if it really does point to the future.
Welcome to the new BMW iDrive. It's a little bigger than we thought, or I've gotten smaller. Either way, what you're seeing here is a world's first panoramic vision integrated into the windshield, along with this new center display and a 3D heads-up display. And what we have here is this uniquely shaped center display that's actually canted towards the driver and designed at an angle to really make it perfect for the driver to interact with. It gets really interesting when you look up here and when you start to customize. So what do I mean by that? As you can see, you can actually change from the center display into the panoramic vision what you interact with and what you see in the panel display. That's actually an incredible experience from a driver's perspective because you can really tailor your experience. But as you can see here, there's a litany of different things that you can bring into the panoramic display. And what I find so interesting is it's in your line of sight. So eyes on the road, hands on the wheel. This is really about driving. This is not about interacting with technology. It sort of just disappears, which we'll see later. This is again, a world's first when it comes to the panoramic display, but it's actually not what you think it is. This is actually a projector, series of projectors that sit in the dash, projecting onto the windshield. So that windshield is just glass with an opaque background behind it. The other part of this experience, as you see a phone call coming in, is that BMW has now changed how these buttons interact. So you saw that momentarily, the phone icon here actually went green. That is an interesting new twist to how buttons work on the steering wheel. And over here, you'll see there's certain buttons that come and go depending on the scenario. So for instance, there's certain situations you cannot use automated driving services. Some you can. They will only light up when they're available, rather than just trying to use it and then being denied continuously. And don't worry, these are actual physical buttons. There's haptics and there's sort of 3D indents to them as well. So this is great, but let's turn it into sport mode and see what that looks like. So as you can see, the entire experience changes. The red glow, of course, very common in BMWs in sport mode. But not just that, you have different information up here. And of course, you can customize that as well. But this is really cool. Because you've used active dynamic traction control previously, it will recommend that setting anytime you go into sport mode. So it starts to learn your behavior and actually tailor the experience to you in the way it feels that you'll want it to be applied. So we've seen the new iDrive at scale. Now let's experience it in virtual reality. We're gonna take a look at a development tool that BMW is using to actually bring this to life. So as you can see, this is a sort of a buck with the center display, but nothing else. And I'm gonna experience it all in VR. The first thing that you notice is these pretty tactile buttons, and it's all a single piece of plastic, or I assume it's plastic, but the interactivity really fools you in making you believe that they're moving buttons, which is great. The other thing that you notice is just the shape of the screen, the way it's slightly canted and it's shaped sort of towards the driver is surprisingly functionally helpful, very much in reach, but everything sort of feels like it's designed for the driver and actually the action of driving, which is fantastic. But then the other thing is how intuitive the panoramic vision looks and feels. It's right in your line of sight, close to where the HUD is in a lot of current cars. But it's kind of, it fools you because you think that it's taking up part of the windshield until you realize in this actual 3D experience, which is of course going to be the production experience, you realize the dashboard sort of, rather than going up to meet the belt line, if you will, it sort of stays straight, giving you this band across the windshield, which is then used by these projectors, which projects, of course, that panoramic vision experience. Really, really cool stuff. And you know, it all comes together in a way that feels very intuitive. So that's an early look at the new BMW iDrive and the panoramic vision.
It's a fascinating system that promises a more intuitive, driver-focused experience without compromising functionality. And in my very early hands-on experience, it appears to do just that. Even more impressive, it does one of the best jobs I've seen yet at creating a truly unified vehicle operating system across not just different screens, but different types of displays and interaction points. And that's not to mention the interesting personalization and the AI integration that's been built in as well. Kudos to the team at BMW for having the courage to bring this type of all new innovation to production. And according to the BMW representatives that I spoke to, we're going to see this sooner rather than later. In fact, it will debut in a BMW later this year.